Welcome to Uxbridge Beat, the podcast where we feature the who's who of Uxbridge, Ontario. My name is Jennifer Nabu-Campsell.
And I'm Scott Campsell, and today we are inviting you on a movie date with us at the Roxy Theatres.
Cathy and Mark Christoff were kind enough to take time out of their busy schedules to sit with us in the theatre to chat about our hometown gem and their labor of love.
Not only do we learn a little in this episode about cinema building and ownership, but we're also lucky enough to learn a little bit about Mark and Cathy.
Their leadership, dedication to youth, and community-minded spirits are what separate them apart as business owners and community members.
Go on, grab your favorite snacks as we go behind the scenes of the Roxy with Mark and Cathy Christoff.
Cathy and Mark Christoff, welcome. We are so glad you're with us. We are inside one of the theaters at Roxy Movie Theatre. Tell us a little bit about the history of how the actual theater itself came to be.
It used to be the Roxy Theatres back in the 40s, and that took them right through to, I think, 1969, 1970. Then it closed down, and then it got converted into a drugstore. And then fast forward to 1996, and the drugstore is for sale. And so
the druggist John Vanderley, he was going around the corner. If you remember, the original Shoppers small version was around the corner here down the street. So John was going, it wasn't Shoppers though, he was moving his drugstore there. So the Quonset hut came for sale.
And actually that same time, in the local paper, which was the Times Journal at the time, they had, Alan McGilvery had a looking back photo of the original Roxy. And I just put two and two together, came to Mark and said, we should open a theater. We should buy that building, we should convert it into a theater, and that's what everyone in the town wants. And he, of course, said, and how are we paying for that? And I said, oh, it won't be that much. It can't be that much. And everybody wants a theater, so it will do well. So we embarked on that back in 1996. We bought the building end of September, and we had the first of our gala nights. People were coming in the front door while the carpet guy was still doing the stairs up to the bathroom. And literally he was dunk, 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 and he ran out the back door before we had people coming down the hall.
It was cutting it close.
It was done in 3.5 months.
Wow.
The whole demo and rebuild. But that's how it came to be. So we're celebrating our 26th anniversary, December 13th this year.
And when you come in that front door where the concession is, if you look up the roof that's just the ceiling above you, that's the original projection booth, and it's still there. And it's all concrete because film was very flammable and easily, because of the light, would catch fire.
And it just goes. And so few projectionists lost their eyebrows, I'm sure. But when we were deciding to open it, on our research that we did, there was no way we could survive if we only had one screen. And that's what the original Roxy was, on the south end of the building. And we actually did uncover where the screen was, and we uncovered the old sloped floor. So in order to create 2 screening rooms and have the projection booth in the middle, these were all things that we didn't know. We actually had to excavate all inside the building. So we took the back off the building, had a dump truck driven in, and a big digger, and took out everything, but then they had to take out the old floor. We didn't realize it was still there. So we literally excavated the whole insides of the building. Then to get this booth put up, we had to make it because we were 35 millimeter film when we opened, so we had to have a concrete floor. In order to hold that up, there are 10 drilled 33 deep into the ground pylons. So we had to have a well drilling truck had to drive in the building and 10 of those. So the joke was, if the 100-year flood ever hit Uxbridge, everyone should just come to our booth because it's not going anywhere. Again, we didn't know we would be faced with that. It ended up being way over budget, much to Mark's dismay. But we did...
I like how she just throws you, just to Mark's dismay.
Yes.
You were fine, but Mark,
And that was the other thing too that was funny is I was practically living here with the construction crew getting the place built.
But
And
this wasn't our living. We were located in town at that time. We had a packaging company. So we were located where, the building the north on Main Street there.
Coqueledge on
Coqueledge.
Young. We were on the west side of their building. That was where our packaging company was. Yeah, this was a true labor of love and still continues to be a labor of love. But the pandemic, we've got a long recovery from being closed for 18 months. Because you go from 7 days a week, and when the only day of the year we close is Christmas Day, to all of a sudden being closed for 18 months. And it was, then are people going to get used to only watching movies at home, streaming them, and not coming out to the theaters ever again? And we basically did put all of our RRSPs, we cashed everything in because we ran so over budget. Everything. I just kept saying to Mark, that's our retirement. Don't worry. The Roxy will be our retirement. It'll be fine. Then you get a pandemic.
If we didn't own the building, the Roxy wouldn't be here. You can't go 18 months without paying rent to a landlord and still survive. So that was the lucky for everybody that we did own the building, because it meant we could, we still had financial hardship, but not like some of these people went through.
We feel,
Like landlords that weren't very understand. Some of the stories I hear, which I won't repeat, but some of the landlords in town who didn't give an inch in terms of helping their business. But I've never understood that anyway, because as owners of, not on a large scale, but of owners of building and dealt with tenants, the best kind of landlord-tenant relationship is one where they're in partnership together. I'm going to rent you my space. I'm going to charge you a reasonable rent so that you can make a living. And in turn, you pay your rent as best you can on time and take care of me, and we'll take care of each other. But COVID, boy, some of these people, the true colors came out, whereas really it was just about collecting the rent.
But true colors did come out of the community as well in supporting you.
Absolutely,
Everything from just buying bags and bags of popcorn.
Yes,
We were
and
very lucky.
we were very lucky. Number one, our manager, Alice Beatty, when I said, let's see if we can do this online ordering of this popcorn to go, and we'll do it every Friday pickup. And she ran it. She took the ball and ran with it. We had to invest a bit of money on an online ordering system, so that was our only thing that was a bit of a challenge. But it kept the heat on. Definitely, those popcorn sales. We just have to get people over the hesitation of coming out to movies again. And I don't think it's a hesitation. That's the wrong way of putting it. Because we've had some very good films since we reopened. And no one wants to lose the Roxy, but we have many nights where there's 10 people in here, or there's 15 people, and we're bringing in, because we're a first-run theater, which means you have to be open 7 days a week, and you have to open at least 2 new pictures a month. So if a contract is a minimum 2-week contract, you can do the math. I have to automatically open up 2 new pictures a month. I have to hope Hollywood gives us good product, and then I have to hope the people come out. So we've opened up some very good product, and we pay, on average, we pay about 60% to 70% of every ticket goes back to the distributor.
What legislates you having to be open 7 days a week?
To have first run designation. So that allows us to always get movies. Like we're able to get Black Panther 2, we're able to get Black Adam, we're able to open Ticket of Paradise. If we were a second run theater, we would not get a copy. We would not get a print of that film until 4 weeks later, 2 weeks later. And now with the streaming process the way it is, the film distributors are maybe giving it to the theaters for as little as 1 week, and then it goes right to pay-per-view. Or they'll even say, we'll give it to you while pay-per-view's on, we'll give you the film. And we're like, well, maybe people won't come out to the theater. They'll stay home because they've been used to being home. So we live and die. We were told way back when we toured all these theaters and talked to all these people in the industry, and we were, bright-eyed and shiny-tailed about, we're going to have a movie theater. They said to us, you will live and die by the product that Hollywood puts out. And if they don't put out good films, then you're going to die. So we have to also, and I'm part of like an independent theater owners national group, we have to constantly be united together to advocate for the independent theater owner. Because if we don't get the product into theater space first before it goes to online streaming, we will lose out. People will continue with their pandemic habits, and they will have their movie nights at home, and they won't come out for the united experience of experiencing it with another 130 people around you.
And there's some major people on board. If you saw Top Gun Maverick, it seems kind of hokey, but it really wasn't. Tom Cruise comes on at the beginning of the movie and very simply says, "Thank you for coming." And it's
Yeah, I
quite
remember that.
remarkable. It's quite remarkable
Yeah.
because it doesn't seem like much, but it is to have somebody. And in effect, he was saying, "Thanks for coming into that experience and promoting the movie theater."
Steven Spielberg's another one. He wants his films in a theater.
So obviously you're biased. You want people to go to the theater, but what would be reasons why someone would want their movie in a theater over allowing it to go to be streamed?
Mark used to say, I'd say, "Let's go to the Roxy tonight for opening night of whatever movie." And he would say, "Well, yeah, that's a movie I want to see with a whole bunch of people around me. I want to laugh with a bunch of people."
Or be afraid.
Or be afraid.
How many of us
together.
remember, we're a little bit older than you are, but how many of us remember Jaws, where Roy Scheider is throwing the stuff off the back of the boat, the stuff to attract the shark, and we're all sitting here, and then all of a sudden the shark comes up. Well, on the screens we were in, whoa, everybody is back in their seat.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That shared emotion of people around you. We were here for Ticket to Paradise. I was here with 70 women. I do this thing called Chick Flick Night. Send it out on social media, and we all come. We have a special password. And I'm here with these women, and we're watching this movie together and laughing at the same things together. George Clooney has his shirt off, and we're all just, collective sigh, together. And there's just that
There was just that
feeling.
one guy. There were 70 women, but there was one guy, and he also,
Yeah, right. Actually, there were some couples there because it was our regular show night.
Oh, okay.
So we had some couples there, and at the start of the movie, I did say, "Thank you to the couples. I just want to let you know this is Chick Flick Night." So there might be a little bit of noise, but we'll keep it under control. But that Top Gun, I mean, to watch that on your home TV versus watching that on the big screen, no comparison. During tough times, unfortunately, we've all gone through some very tough times, but they're predicting tougher times for next year. We're talking about a recession like something we haven't seen even in the 80s. And if that happens, going to the movies is still a cheap night out, believe it or not, especially at the Roxy. Because if you were instead the type of person who would go to a hockey game, you'd go to basketball, you'd go to see,
you can't even compare it to Leafs tickets.
you go to Harry Potter, you'd go out of town because that would be your night out. Well, when you know you've got to really choose what you spend your money on, going to one of our fabulous local restaurants in town and then coming and seeing a movie, that's a relatively, compared to going to Toronto, that's a cheap night out. We're hoping that there will be product for next year, and right now it looks like on the slate that there's some good product coming down the pipe. We're hoping that that also assists people with getting out, because it still is an experience that you don't necessarily get from other social activities, because very rarely, I mean, other than like there's live theater, of course, but film gives you just an added element of, you have people around you who you don't know, but you are experiencing what you're watching together. And it doesn't matter. There's no barriers for anyone else around you. You're all doing that. You're watching the movie. And I think we need that back in our lives.
In addition to the movies, you also do special events and corporate events. Can you talk to us about those a little bit?
We do a number of fundraising events. I think we're up to almost $200,000 that we've raised through the Roxy and special events. We do our ladies' night, movies, martinis and manicures. Those are always fun nights. We've done our short film festivals, which we do that every year. We just had our 20th in October this year, which was very, very well attended. We also are very fortunate that we have filmmakers living in them hills, and they'll contact me to say, could we show our film at your theater, like for a private screening? And so Andy was one of them. And Ted Barris is a very good friend of ours, and we've been able to launch his books with showing a movie, like we did The Great Escape here, and did actually 2 weekends of events with Ted. And we actually had a gentleman who was incarcerated in the camp at Stalag.
Did you ever see the movie The Great Escape?
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, there were the guys who came out of the barracks, and they had to find somewhere to put the sand or the dirt they were digging up to get rid of it. So they would put it in there. They came up with putting it in their pant legs,
Yeah.
and they would march. And as they were going back and forth, they'd empty it. This was one of those guys that did
They were
that.
called
But the more
penguins.
fascinating part of
I
that,
think, were they?
it was a real need to know when they were doing that, because they were afraid that the Germans would find out what was going on. He was right next to a tunnel. His room was right next to the tunnel, and he told us, stood up and he said, I had no idea.
No
He said,
way.
they're right
Really?
next to me digging, and he said that's how tight the secrecy was, because they were afraid that if it got out, so it did quite remarkable.
In addition to movies, special events, you've had the Roxy Kids.
Yeah.
Tell us
21
about
years.
that.
Yeah, 21 years. That was is something that I'm so proud of that we did here.
Roxy adults now, some of them.
Yeah, Roxy adults with their own kids.
Yeah, with their own kids.
That came about because way back when we opened the theater, I was at the ticket booth. I don't know why I was working it that night. And this little guy came up and he pulled out his money from his pocket and he puts it on, and he was short. He didn't have enough money, and I said, sorry, buddy, you're short a bit here. He said, he says, I really want to see this movie. And I said, I'll tell you what, I will pay the difference, but you have to, tomorrow, you don't have to do it tonight, you have to do an act of kindness for someone. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, do you have an elderly neighbor who might need their leaves raked? They might need their dog walked, or you might, well, what if I do this for my dad? No, it has to be for someone who's not related to you. It has to be an act of kindness. So, and I said, and then I want you to tell me about it. I want you to come back and tell me about what you did. And he did. So then I got talking to Mark, and I said, we could use the movies as a little carrot, a little gift, if kids between ages like 8 to 16, if they were to do acts of kindness in the community, and they would earn points to a free movie. And he, of course, said, sure, good luck. And so even though I ran it, Mark was always dragged in. Our Santa Claus parade floats, or any of our different ventures out to the seniors' homes or whatever, Mark was always there. But the kids fed our souls, and their families were amazing. And it was interesting because you'd grab the kid when they're about I hate to use the term kid, but the child, I guess, but it is Roxy Kids, when they're 8 years old, because you get them before they've developed their insecurities. And if you grab them at that point, and you guys probably know this with working with kids, but if you grab them at that stage and you figure out what turns their crank, do they like to make crafts? Do they like to do stuff outside, clean up the parks? Do they like to clean up the trails? Do they like to visit seniors? What turns their crank? And you find that one thing, and they feel pride in it, so that when they hit 12, 13, they're not going to search for something. Hopefully they've got a grounding in them that makes them feel, wait a sec, I'm good at this. And so that turned out to be a great thing, a bonus from Roxy Kids, because we got to know all these kids. So then by the time they hit the age of where they were like 15 and looking for a part-time job, of course, if they applied at the Roxy, I already knew who they were. So the added greatness of Roxy Kids was that I ended up with a whole bunch of really great employees, and also other businesses in town. They said as soon as they would get a resume that said they were Roxy Kids, they were hired.
If you live here and like where you live, and if you're a business here, you have to give back to the community. It doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours. That's a lot of the reasons that people decline doing it. Well, I don't have the time, whatever. You know what? 10 minutes somewhere, it doesn't matter the length of time that you give back. Just give back, because it's important. That's what makes our town our town. And to me, that sort of segues, because the two of us have been talking about a lot about this lately in terms of COVID and so on and so forth. You know what we got to do, folks? We got to get back to being nice to each other. We got to get back to being patient, caring about each other, not losing our temper, not snapping at people,
Not being worried about everything.
Yeah, just get back to being nice again, because we've all drifted away from, and we're all guilty of it. We feel of being impatient and short-tempered and so on
And
and so forth.
self-focused,
Yeah,
surviving.
self-focused.
And that's not to paint everybody with the same brush, Mark.
Yeah. No.
It's more so just to say that we have to get past the stage of just wondering what sort of doom and gloom we're going to read about today. What sort of joy and happiness can we experience today? And then how can we help someone else's day to be better?
Common question we get at Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness is, what age can my child start karate?
And the answer is that we have children as young as 3 years old training with us. Austin is one of our amazing students, and he told us some of his favorite things about our program.
Do lots of stuff like karate, like weight falls, kicks, and blocks, and punches. I can do anything.
Austin can do anything, and we are excited to help bring out his potential and your child's too.
We use martial arts as a tool to help your child build confidence, focus, self-discipline, and respect for others.
Contact us at Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness to get your child started today.
Mom, wake up, it's karate day!
I really like in our conversation that you keep referring to each other and how you've been such a good team, the two of you. Tell us a little bit how your team formed.
I was 14 years old and working at McDonald's in Toronto, and Mark came in on a Saturday night, 18 years old, and he wanted to wanted to go out with me, I guess. Of course, he was 4 years older than me, so that was a little bit scary for my dad and my stepmom. It actually took you 3 months after that first time you saw me to actually ask me out.
That's a lot of Big Macs.
It is, and it was fillet of fish, which she thought was
I
a bit
hate
strange,
fillet
because
of
what
fish.
young guy eats fillet of fish? That's kind of weird
Yeah.
to do that.
But
For
he
3
found
months.
out, and so we started dating, and then my father eventually warmed up to Mark. Then my father and my stepmom moved to Uxbridge. I was living with them, and what was going to happen with Mark? Mark lived in Toronto. So my father says to Mark, why don't you move to Uxbridge and come back and finish your high school? He needed to get his grade 13. So my father said, yeah, you can go on student welfare and you can board at a lady's house in town, Pearl Paradine, and you can go to school together. Kathy's going into grade 10. He was the oldest
Student in high
grade
school.
13.
Driving a
person.
67 Mustang.
And but yeah, we had 1 year together at high school, ran this radio station, met Dawn.
Got
and
married in Leasdale, in Greenbank,
Greenbank.
because none of the churches would marry us
They
here
wouldn't
because
marry
we
us.
weren't regular parishioners. We had the reception at the music hall, and we brought stuff because we didn't have any money.
We had no money. But it was a great wedding. Everyone had a ball. It was 1 week after I finished high school. Half of the school came, and we had singing and all sorts of shenanigans. That was over 44 years ago. So
That's a great story. Congratulations. You guys are a really big inspiration for us. I can't even remember what it was for the Pine Grove service a few years ago, and we went and had a meal together and just talking about that. And the chemistry between you two, and you feed off each other back and forth. I really enjoy you guys as a couple. So thank you for your mentorship.
We rarely agree on anything.
You rarely agree on anything? Is that true?
No, the important stuff we agree on, but I think that's what makes it a good team, is that it's different points of view. So
yeah, we're different.
Challenge each other.
But but most things, the important things, though, community, family, love, we agree on. But our work ethics are different.
we waited 8 years before we had kids, and I don't think a lot of people do that. But we had a chance to do stuff and figure each other out before.
I finished school at night while I worked full time, and Mark built up his business. He started a manufacturing company, and so we were able to get ourselves established. We weren't actually even planning children, and then I got the flu, and then it was a total surprise that we were pregnant.
So the flu wasn't the flu. The
Yeah.
flu was Caitlin.
Yep.
Actually, it was funny because we were at a funeral, and
Yeah.
a relative of mine, Cathy, was standing back. She said, "I've got the flu," and she said after, she says, "You don't have the flu."
His cousin said, I don't think so. And I said, what?
So I'm trying to put all this together. So you guys meet at a McDonald's. You go to high school together.
1 year.
1 year. You, Mark, do a packaging plant? Okay, so where does the theater come in? So you find that the drugstore's for sale and automatically movie theater? Like how do you...
No, we'll back up very quickly because it was a lot of time. What's missing in all of this is that on top of the theater and Roxy Kids or whatever, Cathy started Experience. Very quickly, in those days, all there was the Uxbridge Players. There was nothing that people could come and join, and you didn't have to audition. All you did was show up and have fun and sing or dance or be in skits. Then we morphed away from that and we did our own shows. We were the first people ever to do 3 episodes of I Love Lucy at the music hall. Cathy was Lucy. It was the most complicated thing we ever did, but we did all kinds of shows. So that was really where that came from, the love of the theater. We sucked our kids into it.
That was live theater, but we were always movie buffs.
Yeah, one sort of.
I think to answer your question from my point of view, it came about because at that point, with Experience, with our children in the community, we felt that we were involved with what the community was always saying. They used to do those surveys in the paper all the time. Oh, we need this. There's nothing to do. The kids would always complain, and the number one thing on the list was a theater, and so that's how it came about. Really, was that okay? Well, here's a chance to give something back to the community, and hopefully all we hoped for was that it would pay its bills. That's all we hoped for, is that as long as it pays its bills, we can employ, I think at the time, like 22 teenagers. We can enjoy having movie nights. That was how it came about, the movies, was we have felt that we both were doing well with our businesses and that maybe this was something we could do.
That's rare, like especially now, like we were talking about being positive. We look at some of the Facebook groups that are out now for the community and it's, this needs to happen, or lots of complaining, like what's wrong with parking in town or whatever. And then nobody takes the step out to go and make the improvement. They'd rather just complain about it and they sit back. Usually they blame Dave. The power's out. It's got to be Dave's fault.
Poor Dave.
Yeah. Well, let's not give him too much, but yeah. But you guys, like literally, I see a need. Let's go fill it. That's really rare. Congratulations.
Well, thank you for saying that. But I think we know some other business owners who have done the same thing. Like Pat Higgins definitely has given back to the community a lot, many times over.
The Williamsons.
The Williamsons, for sure.
they
I mean, we both.
They sell cars.
I was
they-
on the foundation board for years at the hospital
foundation.
for 12 years, and was also like chair and everything of the board eventually. Then when I left, Mark went on the board, so he was on the foundation board. So the hospital's always been something, but the people who sat around that table with us at our various board years, they were all members of the community. And they were giving back to keep that hospital going. Alex Williamson, to mention one of the ones that you say generation before, Alex Williamson and then his sons, they were the forerunners, and probably before them, there was the other community people who picked up and decided, oh, what does the community need? Peter Williamson, he was the one who was an instigator in bringing the hospital to Uxbridge.
We're mentioning people, I think.
Elsie
you're
Wood,
aware
all
of,
of these
but
people before
all these
who
people
we were blessed to actually meet these people and be inspired by them. So if we have been able to do anything by inspiring younger people than us to do then that's what it's all about. It's the whole circle.
And we believe Caitlin, our daughter Caitlin, and Leo are continuing on
Yeah.
with that it's kind of cool.
And their contemporaries.
Yeah, are trying to carry on with that same thing for the community.
Give back, yeah.
We're going to do a rapid fire, and I'm going to let ladies first.
Okay.
So I'll ask the question, Cathy's going to give her answer, and then you don't have to agree with her, because apparently you don't agree with it.
This is going to be interesting after that comment now.
Okay, dogs or cats?
Oh, we have one of each.
But your preference?
For me? Oh, gosh. Dog.
Yeah, I have to say dog too.
Winter or summer?
Oh, definitely summer.
Summer.
What's your favorite movie?
I have so many favorites. Depends on the mood I'm in. That's a tough one. And I've been asked that before, and I answer the same way. That's a tough one. I'd have to say I like the classics that I
You gotta
watch.
pick one.
Pride and Prejudice.
Mark?
The best years of our lives.
I knew you'd say that. I could have answered his.
What's your least favorite movie or genre?
What movies do you like? Terminator, anything that's blood and gore. Who's the guy who talks like that? Jason's dead. No, what was he talks like that? Yeah, any of his ones. What's his? Like
She
any
doesn't
of
like
these,
Mark's movies.
Any of these? Oh yeah, when we're time to sit down to a movie, Marcus will go, on Netflix if there's something there we're gonna watch, and it will be him saying, "Oh, some blood and gore and espionage," and Liam Neeson goes and takes out the bad guy, and that will be his choice of movie. What's your? I'm curious.
The least
Because you
favorite-
become a softie lately.
Yeah, because I'm going to say that, and it was my other daughter, Lauren, who said you got to, like with music, you got to give everything a chance. I don't know that. I guess the schlock horror stuff, I don't have no, the slasher movies.
Horror movies, yeah,
Horror
you're not
movies.
keen on that.
No.
And yet I do like, depending on my mood, I like a really good scare fest.
But you like Jaws.
Well, I like Jaws, and the other, and we're getting sidetracked here. What a great catchphrase for a movie, the first alien, which was scary as all get out. But the catch line, they promote it by saying, in space, nobody can hear you scream.
That's right, yeah.
And that was
Great line.
great.
Great line.
But
Yeah.
anyway.
What's your favorite holiday?
Oh, probably Christmas.
And I'll follow it up. What's your favorite holiday movie?
Probably it's going to be Love Actually, believe it or
Mark?
not. But a close second is Die Hard.
Oddly enough, I'll say Christmas, and I'll say Love Actually too. Our tradition used to be watching
Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol, the original, and then that's morphed into Love Actually.
We watch Love Actually every Christmas Eve.
Okay, I watch Die Hard with you every Christmas Eve. Now we're going to also add Love Actually.
Well, you know
okay?
what?
If it's
Die
good enough
Hard
for Mark and
registers.
Kathy.
It registers as on the list. Die Hard.
It does register on a list.
It does on the list of their favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Die Hard is always in there.
Yeah.
That's what Kathy said, Die Hard.
See, I know.
Yeah.
Kathy said that, and it actually put more credit on it because I remember. Now there's I can't remember if it's a roast for Bruce Willis or whatever, and he stands up and tells everybody, "This is Die Hard is not a Christmas movie," but I think you overrode him, so that's good. I agree with your opinion more than Bruce Willis.
What's your most frustrating part of cinema ownership?
Dealing with film distributors.
Absolutely. We can't use that kind of language, but what we call some of them, because people I don't think would understand the greed factor is unbelievable. It's all about money, and that's why this battle now is streaming, whatever. They still can't do the box office they would, like in the old days, where that's why you did the theatrical release, because it was a big deal to be over $100 million. What's done that anymore?
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie snack?
Popcorn with butter.
Not popcorn, because those kernels will get up into your gums, they'll fester, they'll get infected, and you could die by next morning.
See, this is the difference.
So much for advertising.
next morning.
Glossets.
Glossets? Okay.
Well, that's his.
What's Mark's strength in the business?
He listens to me.
Wow.
No, meaning he listens when I say to him, "What do you think? Like, here's our choice. We have this. Which movie?" Because I book the movies every Monday. And then, what do you think? Do you think we should go for this? And he listens. And I know he'll have other things on his mind, but I'll say to him, "What do you think?" Or even just things with the theater. when I'm sort of like, oh, do you think we should open for the kids are going to be off school because the teachers are having their strike action? Should I open for the matinee? And so I'll be able to talk through all the details with him, because I don't have someone to do that, and he has been that person my whole life. He listens.
What's her strength?
She's one of the rare people that, and it doesn't matter whether it's the theater or designing homes or building homes, what she's doing now or experience or whatever. She has the ability to picture something. I need a picture of it to know what it's going to be. She can do it in her head and translate it into reality, and there are very few people who can do that. I'll very quickly give an example. Experience had a black light number every year. The kids loved it, and it's pretty simple. It's the ultraviolet light, so that on the stage you did the material and you would glow. She did this thing where it was 3 huge singers come out to We Are Family. In our garage, she had a friend come over to construct these things, and she said, I don't understand what you're doing here. What is this all going to do? And she didn't even, until she saw it on the stage, she didn't realize that. Or again, I'll give it very quickly a couple of other examples. The stage shows we did. Noise is Off. Cathy designed the set for that.
And that's no small undertaking for that.
Well, it was the first time people in the audience stayed in their seats to watch the set turn 360 degrees.
Wow.
The staircases fold in and turn 300. They applauded to it.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen that before. But she pictured it and built it. So I think her strength has always been mentally coming up with the stuff and then doing it. So.
We would never ask you to say what the other person's weakness is, because you guys, well, like you said, we're happy with the power couple that we see here. But
Power couple.
what would you, Cathy, say was your weakness if you're gonna say that I wish I could improve this?
Probably I wish I could say no more. He might say that's my weakness too.
Thanks for not saying no to us.
Yeah, exactly. What's your weakness, Mark?
That I don't have that ability that she has. What I mentioned is to see something. I will turn things or be negative about something because I can't picture the end result. And I think that if I could, that I would have been more positive about certain things.
But you are my reality check, though.
There's that too.
Like when I'm seeing things, I'm like, we can do this. And then you go, but. And then you give me that little reality check. I think that's why we're a good team. He can definitely look at what needs to be done to make what I see happen. And that's not just sets or houses or theaters. It's everything. He is the reality check. That's why you need that. You can't both be dreamers.
If you could speak to one person who's alive and spend some time with them over a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, let's say other than Mark, who would it be?
My mom.
No, that's alive though.
No, you said who's passed?
No, who's alive?
Who's alive?
Oh, who's alive right now?
Anyone who's alive right now.
Oh, Richard Branson.
Why is that?
I just admire him tremendously for what he's accomplished, and I like his environmental platform. I think everybody who works for his corporations respect him.
Mark?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. I don't know. I can't. I think of so many people, and it's tough for me to think of one person that I would. And I can't even narrow it down to who.
Who do you follow? Mark reads. He's a voracious reader of news publications. He reads numerous ones every day. So who do you follow on that?
See, even that.
I thought it would be a sports figure of some kind.
Yeah, there'd be that too.
Well, apparently he's hanging out with you and Richard Branson at this point. So.
Yeah.
And if there's one person who's passed away, you said your mum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
my mom. But before she sort of lost her faculties, she died from early onset Alzheimer's complications. She was diagnosed at 55, and she made it to 67. But she probably wasn't all there for the last 2 years. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with her and just say to her as an adult, I would like to say to her, I know you did your best. Because I don't know if she ever knew that while she was alive, that I felt she just, she did her best. And I was okay with that. I think she felt I was always judging her.
Mine's easy. John Wayne.
Why John Wayne?
I love John Wayne. He was flawed. Don't get me wrong. He was terribly flawed, but it's just something about that larger than life persona that I find that's what was best or is best about movies in my mind anyway. Not everybody agrees with it. Cathy more inclined to like movies that tell you the truth and emotional, this, that, whatever. To me, life is tough enough that movies should be pure escapism. Spend 2 hours where you don't think about your mortgage payments or this, that, whatever.
That's a prime example of how we're different. We're watching the Oscars. We used to have an Oscar party here every year too. We should do that again. But anyway, we're watching the Oscars the year that Avatar is nominated for Best Picture and Hurt Locker's nominated for Best Picture. So I felt Hurt Locker was an amazing film. I loved that film. It was a tough watch, but it was so well filmed and written and acted. He was Avatar. Watching the Oscars, and the Oscar goes to Hurt Locker. He was incensed. He could hardly sleep that night. He was like, every Oscars, he brings it up. And now Avatar is coming, the sequel's coming out, and he's going to bring it up, and we're going to have our dialogue again. And I'm going to say the pros and cons for that movie, and he's going to say the pros and cons for Avatar.
But I can say in our married life, as well as my personal life prior to marriage, which isn't that many years, we watched every single Academy Awards.
Yeah.
We've never, ever missed it.
We haven't been happy every year with them, but
And that was prior to owning a theater.
As a kid, my first memory is watching the Academy Awards. That was always.
Our first date was a movie. Our first date was in Scarborough at the Lane Theatre, and we saw
Young Frankenstein.
Ooh, lucky you got the answer right. I thought, oh no, here's a lot of trouble for Mark right now.
Super duper.
Free kids, we would go to the movies at least twice a week. And sometimes 3 and 4 if we could find the time.
Yeah.
We loved it. The lineups, the days of the theaters, the single screen theaters that held thousands of people. You'd line up down on Bloor Street. You'd line up around the block.
Yeah, I was going to say Empire Strikes Back. I remember lining up around the theater, University Theater. To see
Mark used to drag me to the Hollywood Theater to see Bruce Lee. And because I was,
well, now
so
there's
enamored
something
with
too,
him.
okay? She thought, well, I don't know if she would think the same anymore, but they were the sort of, the sound effects were terrible, this, that, whatever. But Bruce Lee was amazing. He was the first one that brought that genre forward and made it mean something. It meant something to be, I know was violent, but he did it like he was dancing. And it was quite remarkable. And then, what's his name carried that on, although he was more like a dancer, Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan, yeah.
I mean, remarkable. It's a ballet with Jackie Chan. Like, therein lies the difference, but see, if you follow movies, you know that there was Fred Astaire and there was Gene Kelly. Fred Astaire was the graceful dancer that looked like in Top Hat and Tails. Gene Kelly was the working man's dancer. He was the one that, you know what I mean? Like he was athletic. Like he wasn't graceful. I mean, you never could picture Fred Astaire beating anybody up. Gene Kelly, yes, as he's dancing, he could beat something up.
Let's not forget Ginger Rogers, who did it backwards and in heels.
That's true. That's yeah. Now we could get into that conversation too, the sexism part of it too. But anyway,
when you die, and you will go to heaven, I know you will. What would you like God to say to you?
I like your family.
That I was a good person. I had a lot of bad about me, but at the end of the day, that I did the best I could for people. Certainly for my family, but for other people. And I still get a kick out of it if I can do a stranger on the street. It sounds hokey, but it's true, that I can help out in some way. Because that, to me, is sort of what Christianity should be, I guess, by definition. We all help each other. So there you go.
Okay, small town living. You are from Scarborough, so you probably wouldn't know this. There was a gentleman that used to show up in town maybe, I think it was like every 3 months. Maybe it was less than that though. I just remember he used to bring movies all the time and he would show them at the music hall. And as kids, we would go to the convenience store across the street, grab your snacks, and then we would go over and we'd watch the movies at the music hall. So when Cathy's talking about how they did their research and the town all wanted a theater, that's what I'm thinking of when she said that, because yeah, we did. We all wanted a theater. Now the theater opened up. I don't know what happened to the poor guy that was showing his movies. It was like, Roxy's here, guy's gone. But definitely, I remember that. And what a blessing it is that now we can go to the movies more than every 3 months.
What's your favorite movie ever?
Oh, you see, when we asked Cathy that and she said it changes, I think overall, if you were going to look at a movie that I would watch again and again, it would probably be Last Samurai, but that's the martial artist in me. And I just like the fact that they do such a good job with the storytelling and they do a great job with the Japanese culture. But I like movies that sort of hit every level. And that was one of the things where, believe it or not, I actually liked Ghost for that. I liked that there was a romance thing to it, sure, but there was also like a mystery and there was a comedy. And like, I like movies that sort of can go through any genre. What about you?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm a sucker and I'd say The Notebook. You know that. But the movie I've seen more than anything was Rocky IV. I watched that 9 times in one weekend.
So
Dolph Lundgren.
The Notebook or Rocky?
Rocky IV specifically.
Right, yeah. Rocky IV.
Dolph Lundgren. Oh, sorry, I said that twice. But it was 9 times in one weekend. Then I watched the movie.
Oh, I see.
I really liked that movie.
Watched the movie 9 times.
What's your favorite movie maybe that's going to be coming out soon? Do you keep your eye on that stuff? I have no idea what's like current or anything, but you're much better at that stuff than I am.
I feel so out of touch now. Yeah, like even the new Black Panther. Oh, you haven't seen it? The Black Adam movie, we saw that. We went to, and I knew that was coming out. And every once in a while, there's one that crosses the radar where you just go, oh, I want to see that, or I can't wait to see that. New Indiana Jones, which I'm really apprehensive about because the last Indiana Jones, that was awful. and I'm hearing that this is basically a little bit more further storytelling from that one. And I'm like, no, we don't need to go back to that.
Was there anything about Cathy and Mark that surprised you?
I didn't know that they were high school sweethearts. That was a bit of a shock. I didn't. Well,
not exactly high school.
No, McDonald's
more like
sweethearts.
McDonald's sweethearts.
But what a great, like I say in the interview, we call them a power couple. But how else could you describe them?
I love their dedication to the town. The Roxy kids, I didn't know the story behind the Roxy kids. I think that's so inspiring. And the mentorship in that regard is just fantastic and so moving. Mark and Cathy, thank you so much for the time that you spent with us and for all that you provide to the community. And we are really looking forward to getting out and getting our snacks. We always get the couples combo when we go. And now we go visit the second desk at the snacks. The second desk is the
second desk.
The wine and beer desk.
The second wedge? No, it's the second desk.
We get our popcorn, our peanut M&Ms, and then we go over to the second desk.
Over to the second desk.
Thank you for spending the time with us. Please go watch a movie. They would love to have your business. If you want to take us to a movie, we'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, and I think she hit the nail on the head. We like the VIP thing that Cineplex has. We thought that was really neat. Now you can go to the